Feeling lost or unfulfilled, searching for clarity or craving more meaning in your work and life? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to Focus on Why, the podcast that turns reflection into meaningful action. I'm Amy Rowlandson, your host, and each week I invite a different guest to explore what truly drives us as human beings, what shapes our choices, and what gives our work and lives a deeper sense of direction. Every answer tells a story, and every story holds a clue to living with greater intention. In each episode, you'll hear real experiences, deep insights, and powerful perspectives from people who have chosen to live and work with purpose. If you're ready to gain clarity, make confident choices, and create a more purposeful way of life, this is where it begins. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why. Before we start, have you read my book, Focus on Why? It's an uplifting guide to living with purpose, clarity, and meaning, and it's co-authored with my late grandfather. Available in paperback, ebook, and audiobook. All the links are in the show notes. Today on Focus on Why, I am joined by Dan MacQueen. Dan, welcome.
Hi, Amy. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, I'm delighted. And a big thank you to GURPS Carer who introduced us. It's always great to have a recommendation for someone to come and guest on the show. So Dan, let's kick this off with what is it you're focusing on right now?
Well, thanks, Amy. Lovely to see you. And what I'm focusing on right now is full send into my work as a thought leader, keynote speaker, and change management professional. I'm a keynote speaker based in Vancouver, Canada, speaking on change management, resilience, and motivation. Trying to change the way you look at obstacles and adversity as an opportunity and reframe that as what's possible, what can be done to overcome these setbacks and these dejections in life. So that's what I'm focused on right now, Amy. Thank you.
And is that different to a usual focus? Is this a new space that you're going into, or is this a continuation?
I've been a keynote speaker for the past 2 years professionally. So it's the same in that capacity. I've been very bullheaded and driven in what I'm trying to accomplish here, refining my craft as we go. So it is a similar path that I've been on for the past couple of years, but it's certainly improving and tightening up, which is cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's important to you about the topic of change management?
You know, the world today is such a dumpster fire of operations and change. People are getting stressed out of sorts how they deal with stuff, and I really want to break it down to what you can control, what you can't control. How do you navigate this change successfully? My life took a very unexpected turn in 2014. I had a brain hemorrhage, had to relearn how to walk, talk, and smile again. I've had to come up with some pretty serious strategies to navigate change and come back successfully. I think the framework I use can be used by anyone to navigate change and be successful with this. And really don't get stressed out about like what's out of your control, what could potentially happen, but what is happening? What are you actually focused on? I think is what I want to communicate across my message. And my story is a vessel for that, to showcase how I navigated this change. Now, I've got all these whimsical expressions and lessons through my story. Let me be very clear. At the moment of contact, I'm looking to survive. I'm looking to put the next foot in front of the other. I'm not all whimsical. I'm not all hyper super ironic and deep meaningful messages. It's more like surviving, right? But that's why I'm doing what I'm doing now.
And often the focus on why comes from an adversity on this show. The guests who've shared what it is they're doing now has resulted as a catalyst, or there's been a pivotal moment that has led them to a point of clarity around purpose and what their focus is. It appears that that's relevant here too.
Yeah, I mean, I can go into the story if that'd be helpful, Amy.
If it helps you, for you, yeah, absolutely. And for the listener, for sure.
Sure, it might offer some context. So in 2014, I was having headaches. Living in London, England, working in tech, company called Hootsuite. Big nights out of the pub, late nights at the pub, night bus home at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning on a Friday night. Got paid once a month in London, which was fun for the first month, and then I realized I've got no money for the rest of the month, which was not the best time, but it was a fast and loose lifestyle. I started having headaches. Headaches got worse after a few weeks, taking painkillers like candy for them. My head was pounding. Headaches got so bad, I was on a tube one day. The tube's like zigzagging across London on the district line. And that's a slow roll at the best of times. Headaches were so bad, vision turned spotty and I saw stars. And then it slowly started to fade to black. It was a race to see who could arrive at the station first, me or the blindness. Arrived at Notting Hill Gate tube station, stepped out on the platform, mind the gap, and the lights went out. I couldn't see a thing. So Amy, I want to ask you, able-sighted person your whole life, all of a sudden you're thrust into the depths of blindness. What do you think? What do you feel? What do you do?
Terrified. Even if you know the platform well, there's so much to navigate. The gap between the train and the platform, and then what? The people all around you, rush hour. It's so busy. Yeah, it would be a terrifying experience.
Chaos, right?
Mm.
So I froze and froze like a statue, and I thought some more. How many of this pickle? I wish I could say I had a good answer for this. I did not. After the longest 3 minutes of my life, my vision comes back and I carry on my day. But the next day, I go storming back into A&E. A&E is accident emergency in the UK, like ER in Canada, United States. What the hell is going on here? I was blinded at a tube station in London. This is not normal. They ran some more tests, and again, they thought it was vertigo. They sent me home. On the way out, they told me I could always get my eyes checked by an optometrist. An optometrist, that's rather odd. But I'm not a doctor. I don't plan to play one now. So the next day, the headaches came back with a vengeance, and I found myself in Mr. Patel's chair. He was midway through a routine exam when he stops the exam, excuses himself in the room, and he comes back a few minutes later with a sealed envelope which he hands to me. He told me to go directly to Moorfields Hospital, which I did. Well, Amy and listeners, tell a lie. I stopped at home first to grab a Jack Reacher book by Lee Child, a phone charger and a bite to eat. Then I arrived at Moorfields Hospital, handed the envelope. They ran the same test there again, then escalated him to Charing Cross Hospital. We're getting somewhere. I'm thinking, this is positive. This is a good thing. Now, it turns out I had a dangerous buildup of pressure in my brain caused from a non-cancerous cyst in my pineal gland. Now, it turns out I required emergency brain surgery tomorrow. Now, it turns out my rules have to change altogether. After a frantic back and forth with folks in Canada, the last text message my mom received reads, "I'll see you soon, Mom. Think I'll have a new haircut next time I see you. Love, Dan." Mom's in the air flying to London on June 21st, 2014. I'm on the operating table. Something goes horribly wrong. I have a massive bleed in the brain, a brain hemorrhage. And the cyst burst when they operated. Mom lands and finds I'm in critical condition. So in a coma for 4 weeks, was in out of consciousness for months after this. Things are pretty dicey, touch and go. When all was said and done, I learned how to walk, talk, and smile again. So that's kind of where the story kicks off, and that's really the catalyst for my why, Amy. It's through this trauma, through this rebuilding my life, through this setback that I realized what matters in life, what my personal life is. And I believe that's to show you what's possible. Show you what can be done if you put your mind to it and you put some graft in. You can get yourself out of the hole you found yourself down. But the key is to keep going, to keep trying. I was saying in my talks, try, that's the most important bit. Effort is something you can control. I suggest you try as hard as you can to get out of the hole you find yourself down. That's where all my why kicks off, Amy.
Yeah, I hear you. And what an experience. You said you are rebuilding and focusing on what matters. What does matter now?
Yeah, that's a good question. It took some serious, hard reflection to look at this. You know, friends that check in on you and are looking at how you're doing and checking up on you. Family, phenomenally important. You know, I took these things for granted when I was younger. You know, I was a young guy, pretty popular, living in London. Was away from home for 10 years in London and Malmo, Sweden. Away from the family. Friends I saw kind of haphazardly through the years. You know, you can never make new old friends, right? So reestablishing those relationships, being close to the family, really important to me now. I remember being in the hospital in the early days after the brain injury. Now, in the daytime, the hospitals are pretty okay place. There's doctors, there's nurses, there's family visiting you. It's all, you're doing so well, Dan. This is awesome. You're progressing so nicely. And then the nighttime, the night staff comes on, right? You're all put in this one room to go to bed, and the night nurses are there, the doctors are all gone home, the parents are gone home, and the wails of the other patients whose life just went sideways on them haunted me for days. I had to get headphones to sleep with because their wails were so loud I couldn't sleep for the first few nights. But this was like a scary vibe, and I was thinking, this is not cool. This is something that you've got to navigate and go through the difficult part on your own, right? They can't help you through this part. I've got to navigate this part on my own because, I've got to be a big guy here and deal with this. But it was haunting just to see that shift in the vibe of the hospital and the patients and the despair and the anguish was just, oh, it was horrible. But all that's to say is like, your support system is so important to you. And to have someone hard to lean on when times get hard is so crucial. And that's what matters to me now, is that support system, that people that stood in my corner through this process and got my back then and now.
And that support system for you, Dan, consists of friends, family. What else does it consist of?
Self-care, exercise, eating clean, treating myself like the person I want to become, the hero I want to be in my own story. What does my hero do? He gets up early, meditates, goes to the gym, eats clean, exercises like a maniac. He's living his life to the best of what he can do, very intentionally, very on purpose, knowing this is all a chance to be alive, right? The odds of you being a human being are 400 trillion to 1. 400 trillion to 1. You're more likely to win the lotto 10 times in your lifetime than you are to have a life in the first place. You get to do this. I'm only Dan MacQueen because Blip is in my DNA. Without it, it wouldn't be me. And I wouldn't trade myself for the world. So when you start shifting your perspective about what the odds of you being a human being are, and the chance you get that bad in the first place, you stop running out of runway pretty quickly of what you can whinge about and whine about. You get to do this. Regardless of the cards you've got, you get to do this. And that's been to remind myself, even when I'm working on the computer the other day, I couldn't see the computer straight. I've still got double vision from the brain injury. And I'm cursing at the computer, and then I think, you know what, to myself, I get to do this. How cool is that? Frustrating, albeit, but I get to do this. And, I took a little bit of a coffee break, and I came back 10 minutes later, and you know what, I was just fine. But reframing stuff in a positive light, it's easy to say, but how do you do that? Well, you get some perspective. And that 400 trillion to 1 number is pretty important perspective to get, I think.
Yeah, I hear you. And the gratitude, the reframing, the understanding that you wouldn't trade yourself for the world, those wails that haunted you of the other patients who you said whose life went sideways, and during the night they released the despair and anguish. You blocked yourself away from that. What was it that you were thinking during those evenings?
I'm pretty good at compartmentalizing things, understanding that this is for a short time right now. If I can just box this up and put it away somewhere, I can deal with this once it gets better. And I dealt with it just simply by, getting headphones and sleep with headphones, then I'd fall asleep with the headphones on. And then I'd wake up in the middle of the night and the headphones be on the floor because they'd fall off my head, but I'd fall asleep with the headphones on, which is helpful. I'm very good at navigating the acute point of contact, and I wouldn't say avoiding the issue, but like allow myself to to overcome it in a way that's helpful for me. Carpent carp I can't say this word to save my life. Compartmentalizing, that's kind of close. Issues is very helpful in life because it just allows you to navigate what's the most acute issue at the time. One step at a time, right? Keep things small. Like the stoic through line I use in my talks all the time is it's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters. It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters. In life, I go through things and I control it. If yes, do something about it. If no, I punt it immediately. I punt it immediately. And that's very simple. I'm a simple guy, Amy. I'm not going to lie to you. But looking through life in that lens helps me navigate change successfully because can I do something about it? If no, then I don't worry about it. If yes, I do something about it. I want to share one story with your group if I may, Amy, about walking and tooting Broadway. Would that be okay with you?
Absolutely.
So, Amy, have you, now excuse me, we chatted briefly before, but are you based in London?
I am, yes.
So have you been to Tooting Broadway?
I've passed by. I haven't stopped and spent much time there.
All right, so you got a gist for the Tooting Broadway area.
Mm,
For the listeners and those that don't know, Tooting Broadway is an area in South London, an area they call up and coming. Think loud sirens, drugs, gangs. It's dirty, it's hectic, and boy is it busy. I'm walking with a cane, I'm walking with an eye patch. After 4 months in a wheelchair, I'm literally Bambi on ice. I turn the corner to walk on the high street for the first time, immediately get slammed into by someone. I stagger back a few feet. Someone else scurries past me on the right hand side. I thought I was done with the rats. Someone had been stabbed on the sidewalk over here. I'm thinking, it's a pretty wild place to learn to walk. After a few days of this, I was thinking, this is the worst place to learn how to walk in the world. Can't they see I'm trying to walk here? Can't they see I'm trying here? And then one day my perspective shifted. Maybe this isn't the worst place to learn how to walk in the world. No, maybe this is the best. If I can walk here, I can walk anywhere. And Tune Broadway didn't change, right, Amy? It went from the worst to the best in my mind, and my mood reflected that. What are you looking at in your life you're convinced is the worst? Convinced is the absolute worst. Hey, maybe it is. Maybe you can find a way to turn down the suck a little bit, shift that perspective a little bit. Iron Mike Tyson famously said, everyone's got a plan till they get punched in the mouth. Now, your punch may not be a brain hemorrhage, right? Facts will be a job loss, a breakup, a diagnosis for you or a loved one. You will take that punch in the mouth. How do you respond? I'm offering a compass, not a map, but a compass. It always points towards true north. We'll look at things like mindset, perspective, and hacks. Hacks allow you and your team to better than yesterday, tomorrow. My name's Dan MacQueen, and the reason why I told you that story about Linda walking to Broadway is when you change the way you look at the world you look at changes. And you don't need a brain hemorrhage to understand that. So I shared that story with you now, Amy, to showcase, what I speak about, how my experience can be used in a broader scope and perspective. But I think that story illustrates just what I'm trying to convey in my talks and the journey I want you to go through is like, well, what are we looking at here? What's the perspective we have on this? Could it maybe not as bad as we think? Everything in life, like that's not like for this story alone. This is like for life itself. Is it the worst or is it the best? How can we reframe this in a positive way? That made all the difference for me. Those walks began things I looked forward to at the end of this. Like the struggle, the stripe, the grind, the abrasion, the contact, the lack of respect for walking stick. Like, you're making me better with this. Thank you for the opportunity. This is helpful. This is awesome. And I loved those walks after that. Before this, I couldn't stand. I couldn't stand the walks. This is so difficult. This is so frustrating. Can't they see I'm walking here? Can't they see I'm trying here? But man, that made all the difference for me. In life, we've all got these barriers, these Tooting Broadway issues that we think are the worst. Maybe they are the worst. Hey, maybe they are the worst, okay? But maybe we can reframe them in a different way, or at least reframe them in a slightly different way. We approach from this angle, not this angle. Maybe that's not as difficult as we think. Maybe there's a way we can find positive vibes in this space.
It's a great perspective to have. And being the hero in your own story, you are advocating for an understanding of how you can take personal responsibility and that you have a choice in every moment as to what each moment means. In terms of, for you, the change management, resilience, and motivation that you are focusing on, and you described yourself as a thought leader, a keynote speaker in change management and resilience and motivation. Thought leader, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, it's a very arrogant term to say. Um, I guess just someone who is leading the conversation in this space at the time. I wouldn't say I'm leading the conversation, but someone who's got leading thoughts, different perspectives that challenge the narrative of what they say. Live in this culture now where it's very woe's me, this isn't fair, this isn't my fault, but it doesn't matter about that stuff. It's like, it's not your fault, but it's your responsibility. The way I've navigated this, I had so much help, Amy. Let me be very clear. I had so much help. Family, friends were phenomenal. Doctors were unbelievable in the UK, in London, were phenomenal to help me navigate this change. If you didn't have that, I would be finished, without a doubt, without a doubt. But I'm trying to showcase what's possible. Challenge the status quo of like, woe's me, this isn't fair. It's like, you're right, it's not fair. But guess what? No one's coming. You've got to dig yourself out of this hole going forwards. I did these brain scans a couple years back at Health Tech Connect, this clinic in Surrey, BC, Canada. This gel cap on your head, injected with gel, ask you questions like laptop, microphone, thermos, window, monitor, lamp. See if your synapses fire or not. My results came back as average. I've had 2 emergency brain surgeries. Average is pretty good, right? I read this as I'm shockingly average. Average. There's no way I'm average. Have you seen what I've been through? It's average. Stuff that. The more I thought about it, the more I thought average is pretty good. Average means I'm no better or smarter than any one of you here today. I've just been driven to go forwards, toes over the nose of my board, riding this wave down. I'm average. Imagine what you can do with your smarts. I share that story to kind of showcase, like, I don't think I'm on my own backside here. I've just been driven to commit to what I'm doing, day after day, month after month, year after year, to do the work and progress myself forwards, one step at a time. What's your excuse, right? That undercuts my ego, my bravado, my thought of myself as a thought leader. I'm an average guy who's done this. Let me show you what I've done, and maybe you can get somewhere doing what I'm talking about.
And it is that relatability that really resonates in that you have overcome a particular incident, health incident that has rocked your world. You haven't climbed Everest or got an extreme story that is not relatable. This is health, and this could happen to everybody in terms of it sideswipes you for sure, and you don't see it coming.
Yeah, I mean, like, one day I was healthy active, the next day I woke up 4 weeks later from a coma. Like, this isn't my life. This isn't me. I was healthy yesterday, playing ball hockey the weekend before this. The weekend before this, I was in Lithuania, where I'm certain the outcome would have been different, right? Actually, Amy, much to my surprise, Lithuania is a very beautiful and modern country. Vilnius is a gorgeous city. But like, I was traveling the weekend before this, and then I had headaches, and then I went in for surgery, and then surgery went sideways. And then the cyst burst when they operated, right? So like, it was supposed to be a smooth operation. I mean, as smooth as a brain surgery can be. But this went sideways. They told my parents I'm going to be a talker again. I'm a speaker now. I'm going to be a walker again. I'm walking all over the place. It's a funny story, actually. The way the nurse got me talking again, she took me out of the park. Some kids playing footy soccer across the park. She goes, "Dan, those kids across the park, they don't think you're good enough to talk, Dan. They don't think you're good enough to talk." And I found out pretty quickly that's a trigger for me. And I yelled across the park some profanities I'll spare you in your team today. You just say, I found out what motivates me, proving you wrong. I'm not good enough to talk? Watch this. But it's all about find what motivates you. And don't judge your motivation. It may not be from a holistically good spot or like a healthy place that motivation comes from. Don't judge the motivation. Ride the wave that comes, because who are you to judge where your motivation comes from? So that's a pretty funny story where motivation came from for me. But like, it's about just understanding these patterns. And I've been through this enough times that I've been able to understand these patterns, understand what's coming around the next lap. But ride the wave that comes. Don't judge your motivation. Ride the wave that comes.
I love that. And I wanted to ask you, you mentioned about learning to talk again and walk again. Learning to smile. How did that happen?
Yeah, well, in the hospital, mirrors weren't really a big thing, and my smile was a grimace, like like gritted teeth, straight face. We got video on here, but you can't see the video on the recording. But I practiced smiling in the mirror for I wouldn't say hours, but 5 minutes a day, I'd smile in the mirror and look, how does that look? Even in pictures now, I still grimace from time to time. The muscles aren't really reset entirely. But yeah, like that's how flattening this was for me, right? Learn how to smile again and just leveled.
I mean, you say again, but we don't ever learn to smile. We naturally smile in response to. This is a very different way of learning. It's the first time you're learning to smile.
Yeah. And talk and walk and these lessons in life that I make mistakes now that I'm like, I've made this mistake like 20 years ago. What am I doing this for now? The whole thing was reset. Where lessons learned were kind of erased, and I've now got to go through them again and trial and error this process through. Like it's all better than yesterday kind of vibes, right? I'm making mistakes where it's like I should know this, I should know better. But with the brain injury, like your past is almost wiped out entirely. And I'm like, and I realized, oh, I made this mistake before. I realized that I go right here, not left. But it's a humbling experience as a 38-year-old guy, 39-year-old guy making these mistakes now. But that's the work, that's the process, that's the grind, that's the graft.
Did anything else change for you, Dan, in terms of preferences for food or TV, whatever it is, reading? Anything change for you?
Everything changed. Like, I mean, I do audiobooks now, not reading because my eyesight's a bit poor with double vision. A bit more impulsive than I used to be in the past, a bit more direct. The soft skills that I learned so well over the years were erased, very hard edged now. I'll say things that are probably inappropriate or direct because the filter is not always there at times. I'm learning, but it's certainly a trial and error process, and it's certainly a difficult uphill battle every day. But I'm here to fight it, and I'm here to learn, and I'm here to improve. Better than yesterday is something I really strive myself to abide by and live by. I think that's what I can pass on to group is just that how approach life in that better than yesterday kind of vibe. Make the mistake last week, don't do it this week. Understand there's patterns in life. These things are going to show up time and time again. I failed last time going left, let's try right this time. You'll start to understand these patterns coming up, and it's a humbling experience to do as a 39-year-old guy, I'll tell you that much. But it's the fight that I'm willing to do and the fight I'm willing to do every day.
And the metaphor of the fight, and you spoke of Mike Tyson earlier. Does it feel like it is?
Yeah, the key to life is to fight the battle every day. To not succumb to comfort, ease, simplicity, but to just spin hard every day. Even this morning, I woke up, I didn't do a full morning routine because the interview this morning was a bit earlier than I'm normally up at. But I still did my cold shower. Ended the shower cold. Something hard to anchor my day with. To know that I can do hard things that day. You can't go through life doing easy stuff. You gotta do hard stuff. That way when hard stuff comes up, you can navigate it successfully because I've done hard stuff that day. But the fight is the fight is the fight. And I'm not a fighter per se, but I am a fighter in some capacity, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And this better than yesterday. What is it that you're measuring?
Anything, everything. I did 2 minutes of meditation last week. I'll try and do 4 minutes this week. Then 6 minutes the week after that. Aim small, miss small, and ratchet. The goal of this is to pick a small target you're aiming for and just ratchet up the week after that. That's your new baseline. So I swim in the pool 3 times a week. Every time I'm in the pool, I set an intention for laps I owe. And I owe those laps no matter what. Well, let me save one exception. If there's a backstroker in my lane, I can punt the lanes entirely and go directly in the hot tub and sauna. I got a special thing with backstrokers. But I owe those laps no matter what, and I improve them time after time. I've got a new one now where I'm in the sauna. I go in the sauna for maybe 5-10 minutes. I'm burning up. I'm smoking up. I'm at my wit's end. And I decide then and there, I'm not the next one out of the sauna. I don't know who is, but it's not me. I've lost that game once in the past 6 months. There was a lady lying down in the sauna, her and I were heads up, and I thought I could take her. No way. If you're lying down in the sauna, you got stamina for days. I lost that game. But I've got this stack of evidence that says to do what I say I'm going to do, that I've improved it time after time. So don't question if I can do hard things. I've done hard things that day. I've got the stack of evidence that says to do what I say I'm going to do. Build your stack of evidence if you're going through a hard time. Prove that you do what you're saying to do, and stack it and stack it and stack it and improve it. Aim small, miss small, and ratchet.
In terms of where from here, what's next for you?
Oh, that's a good question. I think continue to like my body is my physical activity is really key to keep my mental health strong. So that's priority number one probably. But like speaking is what I want to go on a consistent basis. Bigger stages, more consistent gigs, share my message. And I've really worked hard on my speech and language therapy. I speak quickly, as you can probably tell. I'm doing speech language therapy. I've done a gig last week for Manufacturing Safety Alliance. Really improved my keynote based on feedback I got to deliver more value and add what the organizers wanted. To share this message of hope, resilience, and motivation, right? It's like it's a message inside me that I have to do. I have to give it forwards. But bigger stages, more consistent gigs, and making a bigger impact in this world is what's next for me. Amy, thank you for asking.
Yeah. In terms of meaningful success, you mentioned bigger stages, improving your keynote and making more impact. How do you measure what meaningful success means for you now?
I have this software called Talk It out on my keynotes, which rates my keynotes after I talk and gives me feedback. But I had this talk last week in Vancouver for the Manufacturer Safety Alliance. After I was done the talk, some gentleman came up to me at the end of the talk and he goes, as he's leaving the room, looks me dead in the eyes, he goes, Dan, thank you for your talk today. I really needed to hear that. That's not going to show up in the survey. That's not going to show up in any statistics, but that right there is impact. That right there shows that my talk was worth his time today, that I helped him navigate something difficult in his life, and that fills me up. That's what I can do, right? That's my story is my way of communicating this to you to let you know, hey, I've been through some tough stuff. Here's how I navigated this. But if you're going through a tough time, I want to show you what's possible. And if I get you to try again, if I get you to think about things differently, that's the impact for me that I want to have. Just try. That's the most important bit. I tell people, just try. That's the most important bit.
And it's really interesting because I spend a lot of time with clients talking about what meaningful success is and moving away from traditional success metrics to the more meaningful and purposeful ways of measuring. And as you say, you can't always put a number next to it in whatever way that is meaningful in terms of a number of people that you're speaking to or a number of amount that you're being paid for, whatever it is, or the number of gigs that you do in a year. But the measuring of the connection and presence and the how you receive the impactful contribution that you're making and how you are seeing your impact, your legacy, your emotional well-being, your personal growth, whatever it is, there are values here that sit around meaningful success. There are ways that you express that and you are measuring it, that it doesn't have to be in the traditional metrics as well.
Yeah, I mean, the best feedback I ever got from my keynote was I used to give my talks to my outpatient rehab group at Wilson Rehab Center. And I talk about swimming in my talks because swimming is a big part of my recovery. And this one gentleman goes, Dan, I used to swim before the brain injury. After the brain injury, I stopped because it was so labor intensive and took so much time. After hearing how much it meant to you, I'm going to start trying again. I'm going to start trying again. That's all I can ask for. Just try. Maybe he stopped after one time. Maybe he's still swimming now because of me. That's the impact. That's the legacy I want to have. Just try again. One more time. Try again tomorrow. One more time. If I can get you to do that, that's a change that you can see in your life. That's a change that maybe I've had an impact on them for the rest of your life. That's what matters to me. It's like making that, allowing you to see your life differently than what you thought was possible.
And you mentioned that if you see a backstroke swimmer, then you'll turn around. What's that about? Explain.
Yeah, this could get me in some trouble, but I really don't like backstroke swimmers. When you're in a busy lane, let's say 3 people in the lane, and there's some backstroker in there that is just backstroking and not worried about anyone else in the lane and swims up behind you and swims over your back. It drives me nuts because it's so inconsiderate that you're just swimming on the backstroke because there's other people in the lane with you. You can't see where you're going and you just crash into people. It's like, well, I don't care. It's my lane too. It's like, well, yeah, dude, but there's three other people in the lane. Like, have some consideration. So I get really aggravated by that, and sometimes I will leave the lane. I'm better at it now than I used to be, but I will get quite upset with that. But it's an inconsiderate that I really don't appreciate or approve of. So that's why that's the issue with me.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it, how that story actually reflects one of your core values. As with all stories, they tend to have an underlying value sitting at the heart of them.
Yeah, that's true. I never thought about it that way. That's I was just thought it was me with backstrokers, but yeah, inconsiderate people are not appreciated in my life, so it's I punt them immediately.
And if you had to pick on the one value that that demonstrates, what is it?
Being inconsiderate, I think, of other people in your life, being selfish. I think that's what drives me the most nuts. Is just like this is about you. It's like, well, there's other people that are experiencing this besides you. It's not just you in this lane, man. There's other people in the lane as well. And inconsiderate people don't. I don't want to give them any time in my life or any bandwidth of like anger or of frustration. So I just leave. Go in the sauna, blow off some steam, go in the hot tub. Yeah, I never thought about that deeply, to be honest. But I guess it does reflect my values for sure. Thank you, Amy.
Yeah, I mean, I hear this need for showing consideration to others, to respect and to show compassion. And how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if someone is not doing that in a space that you are in, then you will take yourself out of it because it's not sitting right with you. It's something that I helped. So one of my previous guests, she was talking about how she gets road rage, and I said, "Would you not see it being that in the car you're having your space invaded by someone else? They're coming too close to you, and it would be the same if you were walking in the street or having a conversation. They are not respecting you."
Yeah, I can see that, and it's funny how that shows out in these spaces like this, and it's I never thought about that deeply before. But thank you, Amy. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it might not be right. It's just my perception in terms of this is an observation.
No, for sure, and I appreciate that. So thank you, Amy, for sharing that.
You're welcome. Dan, we could speak for ages. This has been such an illuminating conversation. And yeah, you do talk fast. My goodness. I write notes and my notes are pretty illegible because it's very impressive. So not only have you managed to learn to talk, but you've learned to talk with speed.
Oh, geez. So hopefully it was clear enough that you can understand what I'm saying.
It's very clear. It's been fantastic. I just wanted to celebrate that not only are you talking, but you're talking with such great articulation and proficiency. It's fantastic. So yeah, definitely not average. Let's go there.
Well, it's funny that I was told I'm gonna be able to walk again, talk and like guess what? I'm doing all those things. Don't let other people with preconceived notions of you dictate how your life and what's possible for you. Put the work in, put the graft in, and see what's possible for you, for yourself. Because no one knows. No one knows better than you. Keep going, keep grafting. That's what I want to leave your audience with today.
Yeah, well, great final words, but I just want to point out to the listener, how could they reach out to you? What's the best way for them to connect?
Yeah, thanks, Amy. So I got a website, MacQueen Dan, MacQueen Dan.com. It'll be listed in the show notes. And MacQueen Dan across the socials. If you listen to the episode and you get some value from it, I'd love you to DM me and just let me know what parts landed with you and share a bit about yourself as well. I'm trying to make an impact in this world, trying to drive change and try to change how you look at the world. So let's start the conversation.
Well, fabulous. And I'll ask you a little question before I ask for some final words. But what landed for you from this conversation, Dan?
The backstrokers bit you mentioned just now, it's like, oh, I never thought about it that way. But that's very true. It's very true. Like, I really don't appreciate that value in people. So, like, that's why I don't like backstrokers in the lane. It's funny how I never thought about that deeply before, but that's very true. That's what landed the most with me right now, Amy.
Oh, fabulous. Well, is a gift from me to you, but it is true that often, as you say, the triggers are there to for us to learn from and to reframe them, to shift that perspective of, instead of it creating a disempowered version of ourselves, to understand, well, what is the learning and how can I learn to be empowered from this particular situation, those uncomfortable truths, shall we say, as opposed to the comfortable lies.
Fair enough.
So, with that, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your journey, your story, your focus on why. Please leave the listener with some final words.
Yeah, well, thank you, Amy, for having me on the show. I really appreciate that. There's a Stoic through line I use in my talks from Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher. It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters. It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters. That dictates my whole life. Everything in my life is how I respond to it. What can I control? And I take on that full hog, full steam. Let's go.
The conversation doesn't have to end here. Share your insights, takeaways, and actions on social media, or leave me a review on Apple Podcasts. Your voice creates powerful ripple effects that will help others discover its value. Ready to dive deeper into purpose? Check out the show notes for ways to work with me, to get hold of a copy of my book, Focus on Why, or to sign up for Friday Focus, my weekly newsletter. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why.